Coach Pittman, thank you so much for joining us. Big week, Alabama coming to town. Every week's big in the SEC, especially against your schedule. But how are your kids handling coming off the A&M loss? I know it had to be emotionally draining the way that I've never seen a game end that way with the kick off the upright.
Well, I think the bad thing is we got beat. The good thing is it hurt us, So we had been 8-1 of our last 9 games going into that game, so we weren't used to losing, and so it's a different dynamic. I think when we first came in here and we would lose, there was some type of a feeling, whether it's right or wrong, that we were progressing in the right direction, or getting blown out by teams that had in the past. Then the dynamic changed to, well, we're winning, we should win. And so do I think it was a little tougher this week, early in the week, to get over that? Yes, and that's expected whenever you're thinking about winning.
When you look at what KJ was able to do in that game and then how things changed after the fumble, did you notice a difference with him, like even mentally during the game or after the game?
No, I didn't notice a difference with him. I noticed a difference in the team. A&M had something to do with the third quarter, but we had a lot to do with it too, and we were dead. We were lifeless at that, in the third quarter. But it's been a problem all year where we were either a little behind Missouri State and ahead of the other teams, and by the end of the third quarter, the game's closer or further away in the Mississippi State game than what it was at halftime. We've got a problem we got to get fixed. We're trying to do it at practice, trying to change up what we do in the second half a little bit, even in warm-ups and how we flex, to see if it'll change.
So you mentioned the third quarter issues, and that's been an ongoing thing, and you're changing some things. When you go against a team like Alabama, how important it is, we talk about the middle eight people talk about, the first 4 minutes of that second half. How important is it to be able to finish strong but also start strong here at home?
Yeah, I think it's important in every game, but when you're playing Alabama, you have to play a little bit better. You have to win. You have to play a little bit better. You have to start a little bit faster. You have to take care of the ball a little bit better. All those type things, because the margin for error decreases when you play a team as good as Alabama.
I heard you say previously, everybody pretty much says that Nick Saban is the greatest of all time. You had an opportunity to work for him, I think, back in 2013. It was pretty public that you said, no, I'm going to stay at Arkansas. I don't want to leave so quickly. Take me back to that and how that all kind of transpired.
Well, it was just a hard decision, and Coach had a lot of fine candidates that, he could hire basically anybody he wants there, and as an offensive line coach. And I had just gotten here maybe 3 or 4 weeks, maybe, something like that, when I heard about it, and it was a tough decision. It was, and in all honesty, at the end of the day, my mother was bothered by it, and didn't tell me when I talked to her about it the first time, but left me a message, and the message just said, I can't sleep. I didn't raise a son that would, be disloyal and turn his back on kids, a staff, and said the timing's bad, and I just don't think you should do it. And I looked at Jamie. We were listening to the voicemail, and I looked at Jamie. I said, well, that's it. And that was it. Because I had thought about it, I think I'm a human too. But I looked at Jamie and said, okay, that's it.
It all worked out in the end. Now you're a coach.
Yeah, and it's the right thing to do. I've had several different opportunities in my career. Some the timing was correct. I left Arkansas, went to Georgia, but Arkansas had an opportunity, plenty of time to hire a coach, and it wasn't like leaving, I had been here 3 years, and it was, to me, that was different. I had an opportunity to do some other, to go to the NFL, but when I was here, but the timing was not right. In other words, you'd be saying, I'm ungrateful for what you've done for me. Leaving for another job, if the timing's right, that's about people's families and things of that nature. But if the timing's wrong, to be honest with you, you shouldn't even consider it. And shame on me, because I did think about Alabama that time, but the timing was just not right for me to go.
So when you look at Alabama today, I mean, everybody thinks of big bad Alabama, but on the road here this last calendar year, they've had some struggles. They escaped Texas with a 1-point win this season. They struggled in the Iron Bowl, and obviously they lost at Texas A&M last season. Why do you think that they're a little bit different on the road here in recent history than what we've seen and gotten used to with Alabama?
Well, I think, first of all, 4 of those 5 that you're talking about, they won. But certainly I know why you're talking about it, because they were close games. I think it's very, very hard to win on the road in the SEC, no matter the opponent. I think it's very, very hard. I think crowds make a huge difference, travel, all these type things. Because if you look at it, none of us really travel very much. We have so many home games, and then you might travel 4 times a year, something like that. So there's differences in the way you feel running into a stadium at times and crowd noise plays a big part of offensive football. And so, but the key there is that they won 4 of their last 5 on the road in non-neutral sites, and they just find a way to win, and that's quality of great players and great coaching. But certainly we know that. We also know that one of those 4 out of 5 was a blowout too. Yeah. And so we have to be ready to play, and we're excited that, I think our fans are excited. We're excited that we have an opportunity to have a team that has an opportunity to win. We have to play extremely well, but in our home stadium. I think there's a lot of excitement around the state, and certainly in our locker room.
No one's really had much success, if any, against Alabama, but Arkansas is, I think, 0-15 against Nick Saban with him at Alabama. Average score's been like a 26-point margin. Yeah. Things have obviously changed here at Arkansas, especially over recent history. But what gives you confidence going to a game like this, where still a lot of people out there, point spreads or whatever, it's still, now Alabama's going to win by double digits. Wow. It's against Arkansas. How do you feel about that? How's the team feel about that going into this?
Well, history is history, but it also can stay the same, and it can change. It will change. It just depends on if it does Saturday or not. History, it can't continue to repeat itself, even though it has for the last 15 years. At some point, it's going to change. I'm not saying that's Saturday and things of that nature, but what I am saying is that there's a lot of teams in that same boat against the University of Alabama. And, I've played against Alabama with several teams, Tennessee, Northern Illinois.
Which you guys upset Alabama that year.
My point was going to be is that's the only time we beat them. Georgia, certainly here. I think there's a lot of, what I'm saying is I've been on a lot of different teams, a lot of opportunities, and they're hard to beat, and have a lot of respect for them and their program, and certainly Coach Saban. But that's why you get into coaching. You're going to go try to beat who is the best, and right now that's Georgia and Alabama.
Do you see this as an opportunity to change that history, to put Arkansas on the map even more so?
Well, I think we certainly have an opportunity. We've got to play extremely well. We have to win the turnover battle, just so many things. But I will say this, we have a group of kids that think we can win. And that can go back from high school to college to the NFL to whatever. You have to believe you can win before you can. I mean, not, I think, I hope, you have to believe you can win. And we have a group of kids that believe we can win. Whether we do or not is, be up to Saturday.
How much do you think last season's performance in Tuscaloosa they draw upon from that?
Well, I think it just helped with our belief. We went in there and probably, in all honesty, the game wasn't quite as close as 7. We were down most of the time a couple of scores.
But your kids kept fighting, coming back.
They kept fighting, kept coming back, and were having success. So that's helped us tremendously because most of the kids that were on that field last year are on the field now. And of course we have some transfers and those things of that nature that played in the SEC as well that had some, not success because they didn't win, but had some play-by-play success. So in their mind they're going, hey, if we play well as a unit, play well as a group, play well as a team, we certainly have an opportunity to win. And so that changed the narrative from the year before when they came over here and beat us a gazillion to nothing, So at least your mind saying, hey, if we do this, we have a chance.
In the transfer portal nowadays, kids are going to be going against their former teams all the time now, but you got a stellar player in Drew Sanders who came from Alabama who has just been absolutely phenomenal for you this year, getting the quarterback, disrupting things. How do you deal with him in a week like this where he's obviously got a lot of connections to Bama?
Well, I think, I put it in perspective to him. I'm sure he played high school games against a bunch of kids that he knew, because of high school rivalries are close and things of that nature. Maybe some of them he played with and then their parents moved across town or whatever it may be and they went to a different school. I told him a funny story about me in basketball, and we went to the Blaine County track meet, and I knew everybody at the track meet because I'd been to Canton, Watonga, and Gary. I knew everybody. So my experiences was you went to school, you go to another school, you play against your old buddies, and maybe it means a little bit more. You want to play well and things of that nature. Maybe it means a little bit more to the guys that you left. Certainly a different situation because this was his opportunity that he chose, and certainly mine was my daddy got another job, But I think he'll be fine. I haven't made I haven't made a mountain out of a molehill with it, but I did speak to him with him about it.
When you look at you're going one game at a time, but the schedule you knew going in is just extremely difficult.
Yeah.
How crucial are these next few weeks to what this season is remembered?
Well, our goal every year is to get to a bowl. You certainly want to get to the highest bowl that you can. Bowls are also mean playoffs because they go through the bowls. So we want to get to a bowl, and that certainly nothing's changed. Absolutely nothing's changed because of the loss except our feelings, and we know that we have opportunity. We have 8 more opportunities, and the dynamic of the season changes when you lose or you win. Your mind still has hope. It still has hope. I think it would be a tough job if you got bowl ineligible. I think at that point at the season, it's sort of like in the NFL when they get playoff ineligible. It's hard to motivate and things of that nature. But as long as we continue to have an opportunity to go to a bowl, we want to go the best one we can, I think we'll be fine.
Expectations jump every year with a coach, and there's always that old saying like coaches lose maybe like 10% of the fan base no matter what they do every year just because people love new things. But where do you see yourself in Arkansas in 5 years? What is your perfect dream for the Razorbacks?
Well, the dream would be to go to the championship game. Obviously, if you get to the SEC championship game, you have an opportunity to go to the playoffs, and if you win that game, you're going to be in the playoffs, and then you right now you haven't semis and finals, and it's a one-game season at that point to get to the finals. I want to make sure we go to a bowl each year. I mean, that's important because we couldn't for 5. And to be honest with you, we went to 9 wins in our second year, and we won 5 top 25 games, and we did it pretty fast.
Yeah.
You know, and so the expectations of the fan base has gone crazy, and we don't want to let them down, but at times we do, as in Saturday. But the same coaching staff and the same players that had gone 8-1 and has beaten 5 top 25 teams are the same guys that unfortunately lost to Texas A&M. And we'll continue to work. Nothing will change. We'll continue to keep our core values of loyalty and toughness and hard work and see where that takes us. It's done well so far.
Big picture, and you look across the SEC, and there's always the blue bloods, the top dogs, Alabama, the Georgia, and everything. Is there any way that can be shaken up over the next 4 to 5 years, whether it's an Arkansas or anybody for that matter in the SEC?
I think history's shown that everybody goes down. And then if they've been up, they always come back. And I think history said that. Put it in perspective, if you've ever won a national championship, it's hard to keep you down for a long, long time because you have that in your history, in your DNA in that university. You look at some of the schools right now, Kentucky, what they're doing, and Tennessee, what they're doing, and certainly Arkansas Razorbacks, what they're doing. I think Georgia and Alabama and LSU and those guys, because they went down after a natty, they'll come back. I mean, they always do. So those schools will always be there. The ones that I call them the logo schools. The guys that their recruiting at times is a little bit easier because they have that logo, but they have to recruit against the other logo schools too. You know, I was aware of that at Georgia. But like in Arkansas, can they go in there and be a consistent pain in the butt? Yes. And can Tennessee? Yes. You know, they want to. You know, they've had great success. So I think the big guys will be there all the time, and then the other guys will come in there, and that's what's happening. The SEC is probably more balanced right now, even though you have the top 2 teams right now in the country. We also have 3 or 4 other teams that are in the top 15 and 5 or 6 that are in the top 20.
2 more things for you. Leapfrogging off of that, when you look at the future of the SEC with Texas and OU joining, it just makes things more difficult. Like even if you look at, recruiting rankings, for example, if you put them in the SEC, they're in the top 3 or 4 as far as just recruiting rankings right now, which pushes even people further down the list, so to speak. But when they join the SEC, does that make things more difficult, or is there more opportunity to kind of, I guess, maybe to expand your team and opportunities, but also recruiting base, for example, especially to stay at Texas?
I think bringing Texas and Oklahoma in helps our league. I do. 2 powerful name programs, and they'll probably do really well in the SEC. When we left the Southwest Conference and went to the SEC, it was different. Our winning percentage wasn't and hasn't been quite the same as it was in the old conference. It's just different. This is the best conference in the country. I mean, it is, and there's not every, but a lot of coaches want to get in this league. A lot of players want to get in this league. Obviously, Texas and Oklahoma wanted to get in this league. But I think it will help us expand into Oklahoma. It will a little bit more, which we're doing now because we have several guys from Oklahoma on the staff. Texas, certainly we're doing now, but I think bringing them in the league, I think there'll be a little bit more chat, a little bit more talk from the coaches and from the students at the school about Arkansas, and I think that's a good thing.
Is KJ Jefferson a special talent in your eyes? I mean,
Yeah.
he's the guy everybody thinks about when they mention Arkansas now.
Yes. He's a competitor. Late in games, or in situational football, he's as good as there is. Done it many times. Alabama's got one in Bryce Young.
Yeah.
You know, he was dead to rights on a corner blitz with 40 seconds left in the game, and somehow he made the guy miss. And KJ has that ability. And part of it is because he's big and this, that, but most of it is because the biggest part of him is his heart and how hard he wants to compete and how much he wants to win.